want to take a minute here to do a little bit of a segment kind of on a very special Socratic Cinema announcement. Who knows? I might cut this out and put it at the beginning so people hear it. But please, if I wind up putting this part at the end, listen here. If you like Socratic Cinema and like what we've been doing, we are coming up very soon on our 1 year anniversary of doing the podcast. So go us! Congratulations, guys. Um,
Let's go.
Woo!
but yeah, by the time
Yeah.
this episode comes out, we will be very close to our 1 year anniversary, and we want to do a special episode, just kind of looking back on everything we've done over the past year. And we thought it might be fun to do some Q&A. So if any of you guys have any questions that you would like to see answered by us at all, they could be about movies or just about anything. Please either drop a comment or shoot us an email, or we'll probably put a questions thing on our Instagram the day this comes out, so you guys can go check that out as soon as you're done listening, and shoot us a question that you want to see answered. It can be to the entire group, or it can be to one of us specifically. But we'd love to see what questions you guys have about the show, how we make it, anything that you can think of. We'll answer it. Also, let us know what your favorite Socratic Cinema moment has been, your favorite episode, or just a point made that you really liked. Just what was your favorite moment from the show, from any of our content in the past year? Share that with us. We'd love to see it. We'll share some of our favorite moments and a lot of other fun stuff next time in our 1 year anniversary special. So with that out of the way,
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Socratic Cinema. My name is Charlie Heatherly.
my name is James DeLisio.
I'm Kasey Clark.
Haleigh Phillips.
And this episode, we have something that is very near and dear to my heart. It's Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It's back. We're back. This was perhaps the best ending I could have hoped for one of my favorite childhood shows. I used to watch this every single time it came on. I would watch the reruns. I had all the toys. I'd make them do the little fights. I had a giant ATST. I loved it, and I think that this final season, specifically the last 4 episodes, which is what we're going to talk about today. So no Bad Batch and no Sisters, because those are sort of boring side arcs that we don't care about. We care about Order 66, Maul, and Ahsoka, and Rex, of course. So that's what we're talking about today. And let's just go around. Let's just get our thoughts on it. Haleigh, what did you think of these final 4 episodes about Order 66?
Thank you, Charlie. My thoughts on the Order 66 arc. I really enjoyed it. What I enjoyed seeing throughout the season separately was development on Rex and development on Ahsoka, and finally seeing them come together and see their relationship and have the impact of Order 66 really hit hard. I feel like I almost cried for almost all of them.
Mhm.
But I really loved the new fresh perspective that was given at the end of this Clone Wars season. I know it's being deemed as like one of the best out of the Clone Wars episodes and arcs, and I really thought it really encapsulated what Star Wars was. Like the ending, oh my gosh, it really hit deep, and I think it did an excellent job of weaving in kind of the story of the prequels and the relationships and everything that Clone Wars was really well. So I really enjoyed it, and I have a lot of thoughts on it, so I'm excited.
What a lovely analysis. Kasey, what did you think? As a newcomer, especially to the series, or at least you took a big break, right?
Yes, I was very into it when it was originally on. I believe it was Disney XD or something. And I believe I got up to around 2015 before they took the break slash hiatus. Um and then I just never really got back into it. I didn't really watch Rebels, and I had kind of not like aged out of it, but I was looking into like other things. But I really, really enjoyed it. I am, as you can tell from the other Star Wars reviews that we've done, I love Star Wars, and this show is partially to blame for that. Um, just it's great, and I love the last episodes. I forgot how seamlessly they integrate everything within the timeline. I did notice some plot holes, so we can go into that later. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Amazing. And James, what did you think about this as a returning fan?
I really liked them. I had a really good time with these episodes. I'm kind of with Charlie a little bit on the first few arcs of the season. I wasn't really super into it. I kind of had to like make myself sit down and watch the Bad Batch and the Martez sister arcs just because I wasn't feeling it, you know. I also took a bit of a long vacation from Clone Wars, but I came back for season 7 and I was like, but the Siege of Mandalore arc just absolutely blew it out of the water. It was incredible. It was on the edge of my seat every episode. I was so excited. I watched them all more than once, except for the last one. I couldn't bring myself to go through that a second time. Um, but yeah, man, these episodes were incredible. The production value just went through the roof. They really knocked it out of the park. Looks like a movie. I really hope they cut these last 4 episodes into like a feature film because I think that'd be great.
Oh, for
But
sure. I
but
mean,
yeah,
that'd be incredible if we got a feature film thing. I know that there are talks currently, or not talks, sorry, but there's a huge bit of fan push for a animated Revenge of the Sith movie, which I think would be phenomenal. But briefly moving back, or I guess moving back in our entirety to Clone Wars, I would just like to say for the first two arcs, I don't think they were boring. I enjoyed my time watching both of the arcs, but I think those two arcs bore little connection to the rest of the season and the theme of the season. And the final arc is just so much better than both of them and almost like everything that we've seen within the show. Although there are of course standout arcs from prior seasons that I still love and adore, but these final 4 episodes are just, you can tell it's a whole other level. Like you can tell that they put extra production value into each episode even from the very beginning. Like you throw out the motto they have at the beginning or the lesson that you're meant to learn from the episode, and they trade it in for like a dark and gloomy, sort of scary green, Lucasfilm right at the very beginning, and you're immediately brought into the episode through that. But I think this is probably the most sobering look that we've ever gotten at the Star Wars universe, especially after watching what the prequels were. This takes that time era that I think they bungled really, really badly in the prequel movies, and it presents the events and actions that we all love from those movies in the light they were meant to be shown in.
very well said. Um, I do want to say, man, I got a bone to pick to whoever like the graphic designer over at Lucasfilms is because like they have this the super sobering intro to each episode with like the deep red Clone Wars logo, and then
Mhm.
they give us the most plain looking sans serif Arial font title saying what the
No,
name of the episode is. I was like, what?
beautiful.
You couldn't, I just like, you couldn't like open defont.com and like download a new.
Have you ever been on defont.com? Do you know how hard it is to find a good font there? All of it's crappy handwriting. All of it.
No, but like I was just it kind of made me chuckle a little bit every time I saw it. I was like, man, you pulled out all the stops on everything else, but not the
Not the font.
not the
Not the font.
fonts. I guess I don't
No, they
know.
really did though. They pulled out I mean, they had motion capture for the Ahsoka Maul fight, which was phenomenal. You could clearly see that they were treating this like a movie instead of a TV show with all of the cinematography they had going on. Like,
Yeah.
but that intro, I love that intro. I don't care if the title was sans serif and boring.
Yeah, no,
It,
that's just a little nitpick I
it
thought
was
was funny.
sobering, as I said, sobering.
Sobering. Yeah.
Sobering. But what so going into this arc, first episode, what were your guys' general feelings from the prior 8 going into the final one? Like, were you nervous that this final arc was gonna suck? And when you saw the first episode, you were like, "Oh my god," or did you always know that it was gonna be good and you were just waiting for it to happen?
I think I knew. I was like, all right, this is where the fun begins, you know? I was like, here's where it's gonna get good. And I was actually like excited for these ones. So I had a good feeling about this arc, definitely.
I think from the very first scene of the ninth episode, where we get to see Obi-Wan just pinned down in that whole battle, and then Anakin literally just strolls up back to the bullets, just, briefly moving his head out of the way to dodge some of them, and he's like, "What, Obi-Wan?" And then and then his battalion comes up and destroys everyone. Like, that was peak Clone Wars for me. That just felt so much like my childhood and so much like I remembered. But
Yeah.
Haleigh, what did you think? Because I know that this was or that this series is near and dear to your heart too.
I mean, going into this arc, I actually had a kind of foothold because I read the Ahsoka book. In the very beginning, it's canon. It has kind of the ending to the Mandalore siege. So I was like, "Ooh, this is gonna be interesting. I kind of know where this is going." So when I saw everything kind of fall into place, I was like, "Okay, okay." But it actually ended very different than what I expected, and they managed to keep the integrity of what was presented in the book, but they did it in I think, a better way. Because when I was going into it, I was like, like in the book, they originally had it where it was like Ahsoka was like holding on to Rex from falling off of like a ledge, and then like she could have like gotten Maul with like her other hand, but she had to like let go and like choose whether to get Maul or to save Rex. And they kind of did it the same way. They kind of held that integrity by having it be like, oh, she had to let go of the Force spaceship to let go of Maul to save her and Rex. I think it was way more epic in the Mandalore Siege, but you kinda have the same thing. But I kinda knew she was gonna have to choose between Maul and Rex, so I was just seeing the pieces fall together was still equally exciting.
Interesting. And how about that scene where Ahsoka actually decides to go with Maul? Like, she's all down with the Maul plan, and then he says something about Anakin, and then she's off of it. Did that happen in the books, or and did you know that was coming?
Oh, I didn't it from the books, it was just the ending of the siege. It was just like her
Mm,
chasing down Maul, that very descriptive writing and, the ending of it. Yeah, I didn't expect that at all. That wasn't in the book. So they
I
kinda had freedom with that.
Yeah, because I heard some people being very concerned that they were gonna follow the plot of the book, which I have not read, by the way, so I cannot talk about, how accurate it was, but I heard people concerned that they were gonna follow the book because apparently there's, like, some major lore inaccuracies in that or something. So they were gonna be really mad that that was all gonna, crumble and destroy Star Wars forever, but it ended up being really, really great. Kasey, you probably don't remember any of the great Clone Wars arcs from the prior seasons, right?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I
So
watched recap videos, so I have
there you
like a
go.
basic, in the forefront at the moment.
Yeah, like, knowledge of everything.
Yeah.
So coming into this arc, which a lot of people, including myself, consider the best of the series, do you think that it really lived up to that? Do you think that if this is the best of the series, you would go back and watch the prior episodes? Like, from an outsider's point of view, does this wrap up the quality of Clone Wars in a proper way?
Oh, definitely. It definitely like put some lightning back in my like previous already good feelings about Clone Wars. And the last arc was, I don't know, I'm probably going to say this a lot, but it was absolutely like amazing to me. Like it's very hard for me to watch something and just be like hanging on like every single thing that they're doing and like watching all the little movements. And I was very like entrenched with Ahsoka and entrenched with Rex and how they were like using just the clones in general to like humanize like this whole massive slaughter of which is Order 66, but from a completely different perspective that we get in the movies. And I was just really, really interested in that. So going on how brilliant this last arc is and how well they like flushed out all of the characters in a way that makes sense within the canon that we've all like watched and we've grown to know and love. Like I would definitely go back and watch all of those 7 seasons.
I already have like 3 times, so, No, they're great, but do you know what really hit me the hardest out of all of these episodes? I don't think I remember, uh, really many of the heroes in this show crying all too much. Like, I'm not sure I
Yeah.
remember Anakin crying or I mean, I don't even think Obi-Wan cried at the death of Satine. I think he was just like, "I'm a Jedi, I can't feel
No.
emotions." But when I saw Rex cry in the final episode, I nearly wept openly and
Yeah.
wailed and moaned because that like he was like a child. Like Ahsoka took off his helmet, you see a tear roll down his face, and he turns away like he's embarrassed. And
Yeah, for sure.
that visual storytelling where there's no spoken words, like
Yeah.
that is so much emotion packed into one little scene. I don't know. What did you guys think about that? Do you agree?
I was a little, not gonna lie, a little bit scared that they were gonna kiss. That was just it was a little
What?
bit too.
What?
It was
You're
like
crazy.
it was like a little bit. Okay, look, no, I saw her go over and like gently lay her hand on his helmet, and then
She's
like they
oh my
stared at each
god.
other for just a little bit too long. I was so scared that
You're
was
disgusting.
I was really scared. I was really scared. Yeah.
James, she's not legal. She's like less than 18 or something.
I think yeah, you're right. She's like, well, Rex is like 10 technically, so
No, don't pull that.
No,
No,
he
Oh
is
my
I'm
no.
in support of that.
gosh.
45.
I'm not in support of this. Don't get me wrong.
Every time we talk about Star Wars, you talk about something weird. Have you
Yeah.
guys have you guys been seeing all of that Ahsoka Anakin shipping? It's the grossest thing ever.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
Blech.
Well,
yeah.
the thing that's interesting to me is I think Star Wars actually has a problem writing for female characters now. I don't get
Yep.
what it is,
Mhm.
but I mean, look at the Martez sisters. Like, I think those are two characters that you can do a whole lot with, and then they give them the crappiest plot. Like, I think that's what saved that arc for me is I really like the relationship that Ahsoka and the Martez sisters shared, but they just didn't present it well. They didn't give them a good plot to work around. And you know, there's obviously been these people saying that Rey didn't have that either, and it's just weird. Like, Ahsoka's been great because they've had so much time to deal with her, but I can't really think of another fantastic female protagonist in Star Wars except for like Leia.
Pro they're just an adjectiveless protagonist, right? Luke, at least to me, as far as I can remember, Luke, Anakin, and Rey, none of them really had any like super big spice to them. They're all just kind of like we're the good guys,
I
and
can think
you're
of several adjectives to describe Anakin, mostly whiny, annoying,
plain.
creepy, pervy,
Sorry, here's the adjective for all of them. Plain. There.
plain. Well,
Um,
okay. Listen, I will defend Luke because I think that his arc, including Last Jedi, yes, that movie's canon. I don't want to hear any of that Last Jedi's not canon stuff. Last Jedi saved Luke's arc, I think. And it did something really interesting with his character. But you're right. They could only do that after he was a supporting character, which
and
feels
like
weird.
yeah, I don't know. Like from what I remember of the original trilogy, I don't ever really remember any like defining factors that made me love Luke. Like Han
No.
Solo, yeah, he's like a rascal and all that, but Luke's just like nice boy. It's like, okay, we got enough of those.
I
But
mean, the Skywalker family is just sort of like they all sort of act like children. Like they're all whiny to an extent.
now Clone Wars does not have this problem at all. Like Clone Wars Anakin and Clone
10
Wars
out of
Obi-Wan
10.
and
Hot.
Ahsoka and Rex, they're all great and interesting. Ahsoka's such an interesting character because of like the whole like she's left the Jedi Order, but she's low key like a better Jedi than any of the actual Jedi are. Like that
Yep.
sort of dynamic is great, and I'm so happy that Ahsoka is sort of becoming. It looks like she's gonna wind up being like the face of Clone Wars going forward. Man, I swear she's had an appear. She's gonna be appearing in like everything.
Oh, totally. Well, fans love her, but the most interesting thing about Ahsoka is she had a redemption arc outside of Clone Wars. Her first appearance was in the 2003, 2005 movie. I don't know when that movie came out.
Yeah,
Maybe much later than that. Don't quote me on the date, but
2008. I want maybe.
2008. I don't know. I think I watched it in theaters. I know I've watched it, but there was an animated Clone Wars movie before the show came out, and Ahsoka in that movie was horrible. She was
Yeah,
super annoying. She had the same problem, and I'm not sure exactly what clicked for them to make her an interesting character, but somewhere along the line, they started to explore her in more depth and give her actual, personality traits.
I think it came somewhere around season 3 when
Yeah,
that.
because season
Yeah,
1 shall not be named. It's like Voldemort. You just don't talk about it.
yeah, but man, how many like canon appearances has it? She was in Clone Wars. She was
Rebels.
Rebels. She had a book, right? That
Yeah.
Haleigh read. Uh, she one of the Force Ghost voices in Episode 9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was in
Mhm.
Episode 9. She's gonna be in Mandalorian. I've also heard that she's getting her own Disney Plus show separate from that. Like she's just everywhere, and
Really?
I'm here for it. I love it.
Same.
I'm here for it too. Would you guys prefer a Kenobi series or an Ahsoka series? Now this is
Wow,
real talk.
but
Ahsoka.
we're getting both though.
Ooh.
Kenobi. I'd say Kenobi if I had to choose, just because we've have so much other Ahsoka content. But uh,
Kasey
I
went straight to Ahsoka. Why'd you go
yeah,
straight to
she said
Ahsoka?
Well, I don't get me wrong. I love Kenobi, but I feel like you'd have to specify at what time,
Oh,
like which
That's
Kenobi.
true.
I'm pretty sure it's like pre episode 4, right?
Oh,
Isn't
yeah,
okay.
isn't that what the
Yeah.
rumor is?
yeah. So it's him on Tatooine is the gist of it.
Oh, yeah. But
But Ewan
I just
McGregor.
But Ewan McGregor.
true. I do love Ewan McGregor. It
Isn't he
just
like super problematic though as a person? I think I
No,
don't.
don't
dang
you
it,
besmirch his name.
dang it.
He like
See,
No,
this
cheated on his
happens
wife or something,
right after I decide to stand someone. It's like, by the way, they're like a pedophile or something. Just
or
no.
he like I forgot what it was, but he like he and his wife were having problems, and so he like had an affair with a coworker before they were officially divorced, and just a whole mess.
She's Charlie from
oh,
Marriage
TV.
Story.
Anyways, what an
And
arc.
what an arc. Okay, does anyone here remember Umbara? The Umbara
Yes,
arc.
sir.
Yeah, of course.
Of course you do,
How
Kasey,
about you,
right?
Casey?
Silence.
Okay. To fill you in very briefly, Umbara is an arc where the clone troopers, led by Captain Rex, have to take over this planet named Umbara. The specifics don't matter, but they're led by this Jedi general named Krell. And Krell is like the worst, and he secretly hates the Republic. And then the troopers end up having to act on their own and go past the orders that they've been told and arrest Krell.
Oh,
A
okay.
huge fight ensues. Things happen. Two interesting things about that arc that tie into this. Number one, Jesse. That's his main arc before this all is Umbara. He was the main clone trooper in that besides Rex. So that's one tie-in. And the number two, Umbara is when we get to see Rex sort of start to falter with that we always got to follow orders thing, right?
Ah.
Mm.
Now we see that at the very end, right, where he's like crying as he's trying to kill Ahsoka, right? But then Order 66 chip in his brain like shuts all that emotion off, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that same spirit sort of started to really take physical shape right then and there. So
Mm.
what are we thinking about the continuity of this all? Do you think do you think they should have maybe touched a little bit later on? So like let's say in Bad Batch, maybe they should have touched a little bit on Rex sort of starting to be like, maybe we should follow orders, maybe we shouldn't. Or do you think that whole Umbara arc explored that fully, and they should have just left Bad Batch the way it was?
I think they definitely should have added more connections to the Siege of Mandalore arc throughout the season, make it a little bit
Mm.
more of an overarching story. But yeah, Bad Batch probably would have been. I'm interested to see what happened to the Bad Batch during Order 66. Like what
Oh,
Mm.
were they able to I hear some people say that like they're mutated enough that they could have resisted it. I don't know. That's crazy.
I mean, Echo probably doesn't have it. His brain's like,
Yeah, he's been like turned inside out and back outside in again, you know?
but yeah, I mean, I don't know about those theories. I sort of want to see a spinoff where it's just one episode of the Bad Batch just murdering all the Jedi. I just think that'd be really fun.
Like a Star Wars we should have a Star Wars what if series like Marvel's doing. I think that'd be
Ooh.
Oh,
great. I think that'd be
Oh
lovely.
yeah.
oh my gosh, that'd be amazing. And I think I was having a conversation with Haleigh about this earlier. But Haleigh, what do you think about them not showing the Jedi dying again in Order 66? Like they show Ayla Secura on Felucia, they show Plo Koon on in his spaceship or whatever.
Something Nemoidia, I forget the planet name.
I have no clue. But do you think they should have showed the deaths again?
I think it played better that the fact that they didn't. I think they did it on purpose, they showed us them
Mhm.
alive right before their deaths. Like we knew they were about to die, and I think that hurt more than seeing them die again. Like seeing them, just go off on their missions and end their calls, like their last moments before Order 66.
Yeah.
So I
Mm,
think it was purposeful. I think it was nice. It hurt a lot, but it was nice.
it hurts. It
Yeah,
hurts.
this is like where I start to falter a little bit because like I fully agree with Haleigh that it was nice to just see this completely separate take, because like we already
Mhm.
knew it was, our brains filled in the rest. We know what happens. But at the same time, I am totally with the camp of people who want to see Revenge of the Sith animated because like
Yes.
every single from the very beginning of episode 9 when we see those little snippets of like Revenge of the Sith scenery in Clone Wars style, especially that redesigned General Grievous, like I just want so bad to see some of the key scenes done in the Clone Wars style. Like whenever they'd mention some Revenge of the Sith events happening during the arc, like, oh, I'm going to go fight General Grievous on Utapau. I was like, oh, maybe you show us that, please. Like that's the only reason I wish they did those little intro montages for the other episodes too, just to give us a little
Oh.
bit more Revenge of the Sith content is all I could ask for.
So
But
funny story about that, James. There
oh,
is actually an unfinished Utapau arc with Obi-Wan
I
Kenobi.
know.
So, so another funny story, there's tons of unfinished arcs for the Clone Wars. Like, they
Yeah.
had stuff that they weren't able to fit into this latest season. I don't know why they chose this specific arcs that they did, but they still have plenty of like, "Oh, we have everything mostly made, but we didn't polish it or whatever." The thing is, the Clone Wars animators, I think it was the day after the finale aired, said, "Listen, we love doing this show. If there's enough support for us to finish all those arcs, we have a problem coming back."
I saw that. I'm very interested for maybe it'll be another like anthology season like episode 6 was straight to Netflix.
Just never end Clone Wars.
Just
Just don't.
never end it. I'll stay in the prequel time period as long as you want. Like
It's
I
the
hear
best
pe-
one.
I hear people saying like after Clone Wars it's time for Disney to move on from the prequels. It's like no no no, give me more. This is the coolest one. I'd rather see clones and like super awesome clones and droids fighting each other than like just dudes in the resistance fighting.
Bros.
You're right. Like, I don't wanna see just people fight. This is Star Wars. Like, give me some cool stuff, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
the
prequels
thing.
to me.
Well, like, the prequels are the perfect balance between cool Star Wars aliens and, like, all that cheesy fun stuff. And the, like, more sober, serious reality. I'm using that word a lot. I love it, sober. The more serious reality of the later, oh, it's just humans fighting, right? There's a good mix of that. I don't want them
Especially.
I don't want them to go back to Old Republic. I I don't really it feels too sci-fi to me. It feels too not Star Wars.
I never got into Old Republic, so I don't know. I just wanna see them or High Republic or whatever they're calling it now.
Yeah, sorry if I
I
said the wrong name.
someone's gonna get angry in the comments. People always, like the Star Wars ones, the Star Wars episodes just bring out the best comments, I swear. Every time
Listen,
they'll like, someone naming some obscure will say something, and then they'll be like, "Actually, if you knew anything about anything, stupid, you'd know that blah, 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 blah."
I love it. Listen, if
No,
anyone wants
yeah.
to talk nerdy Star Wars stuff, just follow us on Instagram at Socratic_cinema and send us a message, and I will talk to you about nerdy Star Wars stuff, and
Shoot
then we
us
will
an
time
email too. I realize our
emails.
email is criminally
Ooh.
underused. I think it's
We
just at socraticcinema@gmail.com.
Yeah, no, we love to talk to you guys. Like, that's one of our favorite things. And every time we see a nice comment or someone, we've had people make something for us. And those things, like, those are the best, and we love seeing them. So please, if you have any comments or thoughts and want to talk to us, then let us know because we'd like to talk to you.
We should
Uh,
have people call in.
oh,
Ooh, yeah.
that'd be cool.
That'd be
Maybe
something
that would
else.
be something fun for a special episode coming up.
Oh?
Hmm.
Hmm.
More on
Hmm.
that later.
More on that later. Stay tuned to the very end to hear James talk about the very special episode we have coming up.
Very
But
special.
back to Clone Wars. I have a cool little Easter egg that was in the final episode. James knows it,
Huh?
and
Okay.
you guys might too. Do you remember when Darth Vader is picking up Ahsoka's lightsaber and he's clearly thinking, "Oh, Ahsoka got absolutely shreked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
demolished.
How could I forget?
How could I forget? Exactly." But right after that, you see a bird flying overhead, and you're like, "What the hell is that bird flying overhead? Why would they show that?" She seems a little weird. I don't know. It has a point, I promise you. In both earlier in Clone Wars, in the James had the name of the arc. What's the name of the
The
arc?
Mortis arc.
In the Mortis arc, the light side pretty lady girl with the green hair, that one, the embodiment of the light side of the Force, her animal or the thing she could turn into, I forgot the specifics, was a bird. And I actually think it was her pet bird named Mirai. And this pet bird, once the light side of the Force girl thing died, started to follow Ahsoka around. So
Oh.
when we see the bird flying overhead, a lot of people are saying, well, number one, that's Mirai.
Yeah.
And number two, this means that Vader knows that Ahsoka's alive.
But is this
Ooh.
like some dramatic irony? Like, does Anakin, is he in on the whole bird thing?
Well, I actually don't know that specifically. And I think that's the interesting bit is like, there's also another connection into Rebels when Vader senses Ahsoka for the first time and vice versa. Vader says, the apprentice lives. So maybe he had that thought in his head that, maybe Ahsoka's alive, but also maybe the bird is symbolizing like a vulture or something, going over its latest kill. Like that bird was staying by the grave of Ahsoka, quote unquote.
Dang, that's
So
metal. I think the fact that the bird is the light side of the Force and everything, that just lends like evidence to the idea that Ahsoka really is just like the best Jedi. Like she's the best. Like she's more of a proper light side user than any of the Jedi actually are, right? Because they're all. That's kind of the point, I guess, of the prequels and everything, right? Is that like the Jedi got too arrogant and they kind of overstepped their bounds a little bit, and that's like why the Force was out of balance, right? Uh,
actually, uh,
is
I'm gonna
that not no, is that numb actually? I thought that was like the point.
no, I mean, you're right, but Ahsoka is a gray Jedi at one point, specifically in
Not
Rebels.
not technically though.
I
She's
mean,
not she
she's
says
got the
I'm no Jedi.
well, a gray Jedi isn't a Jedi. There's a difference.
Tell
It's
me
like
how you're gonna say that though.
it's like how Pluto's a dwarf planet, but
Like
it's not a planet. They're two different things. The name just
A
happens to be
mushroom
similar.
burger is not a burger.
Exactly. See,
I
now you're getting it. But
I know.
but I would like to say that the most Jedi is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because by far, he is the one who steals his emotions, keeps everything inside in check, and never lets his passion overcome.
Sorry.
Uh, what?
Go ahead.
Huh?
Maybe I don't maybe Ahsoka's not the best Jedi, but she's like the best
the
light
best
side
character.
user. The light like she's the best at actually doing the light side, right? Because maybe just Obi-Wan's the best Jedi, but like is a Jedi the best thing to be? I don't know.
Oh, snap.
Ahsoka seems
Ooh,
to be doing
hot
pretty well
takes.
with like the hot take. Um
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that Jedi is far left on the light side spectrum, political spectrum. The Sith are far right, and then Gray Jedi are moderates, right in the middle.
and everyone knows that it's a lot more fun to hang out with a moderate than it is with radicals.
Ooh,
Let's not
politics on the show.
Anyways.
This is the most political period of Star Wars, though. Like the
Oh
prequels,
yeah.
they're all like the plot of Phantom Menace has to deal with tariffs and a trade federation.
Okay, I watched Phantom Menace yesterday. I'm fresh on this, and I paid attention. I was impressed with myself.
I see.
Phantom Menace is only partially about tariffs, and there is one part of the movie where they just do politics for 20 minutes, and it's insanely
Yeah.
boring. But
Yeah.
the movie is really fun, and I don't think they focus on tariffs to the excessive amount that people think, but also the movie's really dumb.
I'm
So
glad that you had fun with it because I did too. Like I rewatched it also recently, and I think I talked about this on the show, but like it didn't bother me as much as I thought it was going to. Like I enjoyed watching it, you know?
Jar Jar isn't horrible.
Yeah, honestly, like he
Not
didn't bother.
horrible.
Young Anakin also just did not bother me like at all. He didn't annoy
No.
me.
The only thing that bothered me was the plot.
Yeah,
The
that's it. Really, like it just could have been more interesting.
well, the final like third of that movie is just all luck. Like Jar Jar is swinging around with his tongue on like bombs, and he manages to kill like 97 droids and like 3 tanks all by accident. Anakin is autopiloted into the middle of a Confederate spaceship, accidentally blows up the core, and then somehow manages to get out. And then Darth
Like
Maul is cut in half while standing there staring at Obi-Wan Kenobi after absolutely destroying 2 Jedi in a fight.
one Jedi in a fight. Two?
He pretty much killed Obi-Wan until he started playing with his prey.
Dang. That's the
He
one
had
thing. Speaking of Darth Maul, though, why did this arc kind of make him right? Like he was kind of Darth Maul. I think was a really compelling like villain for this arc, quote unquote, because he had like the right motivation and the right goal, but
Mhm.
just like and you can't even really argue that he was I mean, yes, he was going about it the wrong way, but at the same time though, it's like he kinda had the right plan,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
trying to
we
save
stand him.
Anakin is the wrong thing to do when you look at what happens in the future, you know? Like, just Maul was right, 2020, and that's my hot take.
Oh, but that's one of those tough situations though, where it's like, I wanna say that Maul was right, but then again, he was a good guy, and, like, from Ahsoka's perspective, he always was,
Yeah, which is why
and
it's tough because it's like, speaking pragmatically, we shouldn't be rooting for Ahsoka, you know? But it's like, at the same
sure,
time, we are.
we have to. I don't know, what did you guys, Casey and Haleigh, think about this? Did
About Maul.
about
Haleigh,
Maul?
do you want to take it?
Sure. Sure,
Casey
why
does
not?
not
No,
mean
I have thoughts
Tra
Ask
afterwards.
translation, Haleigh, please take that.
the opposite of a pick me girl.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
just because Hallie hasn't talked.
I mean, we both I don't know. You
Well,
guys have been
Yeah,
taking
we
over.
uh,
just.
Sorry.
Uh,
we've been muted. Take it away.
No, I agree with you guys. He did make it seem like he was right, and you were like, "Well, this is where it gets kinda into the gray area Ahsoka kinda meddles in." So, at that point, you were like, when she freed him from his little cage tomb thing, you were like, "Is she gonna team up with Maul? Is this where this is gonna go?" You know, those thoughts kinda crept into our mind, but Ahsoka's firm, you kinda get to see the test of her character against Maul like that, which I
Yeah.
thought was interesting.
Mhm. And what did you think of the whole fact that they were sort of begrudging allies? Do you think that that sort of hints to Ahsoka at that point really beginning to shed her Jedi image?
I feel like I don't know, cause I think the final point where she finally lets go of being a Jedi is when she throws her lightsabers down. So, yeah,
Mm,
I can see that definitely, how this was all, like, the process of her finally doing that. Cause you kinda see, oh, yeah, she's independent with the sisters and doing her thing. But even with the events after, in the book, you kinda see that when she put her lightsabers down, that was pivotal. So, yeah, Maul definitely helped her do that in this whole Mandalore siege.
interesting. And that's what happened in the book is basically what happened at the end of the show, or were they different?
It was like the show kept the same, like, things, but they did it differently, which I appreciate. Like, Ahsoka had to choose between Maul and Rex in a way. She had to let go of Maul, and she still put her lightsabers down at the grave, like that happened in the book. Um,
Mm.
Spoiler alert, she gets new lightsabers.
Yeah, from the
So
Inquisitor,
Right.
right?
Yes.
yeah, she, like, goes actually, no, in the book, she goes and, like oh, yeah, yes, 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 you're right, James. Yeah.
She's the coolest, man. How she
I
takes down
know.
an Inquisitor with no lightsabers.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. Oh, I think what I thought was a really interesting line about the whole, like, letting go of the Jedi thing for Ahsoka was the fact that when she's talking to Yoda in that one scene, he's like, "You did this not as a Jedi," and she says, "Not yet." She's like, "No, not yet."
Ooh.
It's like, "Whoa, is this hinting at, like, a
Yeah.
you're gonna come back around in the future thing?" That was just, like, interesting to me that they would choose to have her say that.
Mm. I mean, she was just in her rebellion phase, you know?
Yeah. Also, super mad that they pulled Rise of Skywalker thing with like the whole there's something a character wants to tell another character, but they never actually tell you what it is.
It
You
made
know?
sense,
Oh,
though. It made sense, though.
It always makes sense, but also just that trope has a really bad taste in my mouth from Rise of Skywalker. So like
Yeah, she
I
could have
was just
stopped Order 66. She literally could have stopped it if she just said,
like,
"Hey, Maul, he had this weird dream."
yeah, or just like, tell Anakin like I hope he's doing okay, you know?
Yeah.
He needs to
Uh,
check
talk.
in.
give him a hug me,
Yeah, text a tip, right?
Therapy.
Like
A really strong force hug around the neck specifically for an elongated period of
Yeah,
time.
snap it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just wish that
Snap it,
that
pop it.
got
Bop
resolved.
it.
I wish that got
Twist
resolved,
it.
that's all I want.
I agree. Casey, what do you think about the whole Maul Ahsoka situation?
So wasn't I don't remember um the whole mall arc. I'm pretty sure that was in the space that I didn't watch, but I love me some paranoid like Maul. That was the most like entertaining thing. Like I love someone just like going through that solid internal conflict. It's amazing. And I definitely there it's really good for Ahsoka to have somewhat of like a foil where there's like even Maul says that they're alike enough that they could be something great, but for them to actually be together in like a partnership, whatever, not together, James. Um
All right, uncalled for.
that either of them would have to sacrifice one of their like core values to like actually have that be a thing. And it's very
Mm.
it gives me very Kylo Ren Rey where it's like join me, but like then I'd have to sacrifice and compromise my character and and it just gives me very that, but it was way more like intriguing even in the few episodes that I watched of it. Um but yeah, also, quick question about Maul. So he like goes in goes into space. So are we to believe that he's just throughout the entire sequel thing, like sequel movies and everything after the end of Clone Wars, that he's just out there somewhere?
No.
So he makes an appearance in Solo, if you remember, at the very end. Um,
Yeah.
and he actually, you should watch if you want to know what happens to Maul. You should watch Rebels. That's all I'll say.
I don't really
Uh,
watch Rebels.
no, just Google it. Look up Darth Maul
Yeah.
Rebels clip.
Yeah, that's all
Okay.
you. Well, so the interesting thing about James's point that Ahsoka and older men like to get together is Maul has this tendency to try and tutor very young children. First, it was with Ahsoka, and then Ezra Bridger in Rebels. He says so Ezra, who is a Padawan learner during Rebels, which happens after I don't know, sometime around Episode 4, somewhere around there. Ezra meets Maul in like the Sith planet, and then Maul's like, "Call me old master, Ezra." And then Ezra's like, "Okay."
Oh, that's
And
so
then they go through
gross.
the entire episode trying to be buds, and then their minds get melded together at the very end of it. And that's like the entire conflict for the rest of the show is like, how are we going to unmind meld? And I just think
Uh,
it's weird. I think James has
Oh,
secretly discovered the history of Maul.
like a
And the,
Harry Potter Voldemort thing. Like they're just linked
yeah,
for the rest of the show.
Oh, that
yeah, they're
doesn't
linked
oh.
because they
That's
tried to
crazy.
combine a Sith holocron with a Jedi holocron. Like they
Oh,
pushed
that's
them together.
cool. That's cool, actually.
Yeah, so Rebels
yeah,
gets sort of good, like, near the
after
end,
that.
Yeah,
but
and I go ahead.
here, go ahead. No,
No,
you
no.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's fitting for Maul to be Ahsoka's like villain because he's like dark side but not quite, and she's light side but not quite. You know, like
Ah,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
both kind of the
Mm,
rejects of their respective orders.
there you go.
Oh,
Dang, look
I
at
like
that.
that.
Dang,
Dang, look at that.
dang. But I think jumping off of that point, Ahsoka and Maul also have some really nice parallels because you're totally right. They're almost their thing, but not, right? And in Rebels, we get to see that. Ahsoka, who was almost a Jedi but not, comes back and starts to lead the rebellion, and she becomes a leading member in that whole entire fight. Jedi without actually being a part of the Order. The same happens with Maul. Near the end of his story, he goes to Tatooine solely to kill Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, as the Sith do, he draws in all of his rage and passion and anger and makes that his primary focus.
Mm,
So, both of them are drawing on their old teachings, but using them for their own benefit or what their own goals are, right?
yeah.
So,
mm.
I'm glad you brought that up because I really do feel like Ahsoka and Maul, literary term incoming, might be foils of one another.
Whoa.
Whoa.
You want to hear about foils? Go check out Socratic Cinema video essay, "The Subtle Genius Behind the Prowler."
I
Just a
know.
little.
Is that nearly at 500,000?
It's like 480K, I think. That's insane. Thank you, everyone. That's insane. That's so
Crazy.
crazy that that's something that we put out has got that much exposure. That's nuts. I will never understand it.
Yeah,
But
thank
thank
you
you.
so much. It's really funny though. I talk to people about that. I'm like, or or they asked me, "Oh, so you run that podcast, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, with my 3 friends." And they're like, "Oh, well, how popular are you guys?" And I'm like, "Well, my friend James posted this one video that got 490,000 views." And I'm expecting that to be a subtle flex, and then they tell me, "Oh, my friend, so and so got a or had a TikTok that's at 2 million right now."
Yeah,
And I'm like,
man, TikToks are changing the game. Socratic talk. But yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I
we can cut
totally
this up into like 50 TikToks. They're minute long each. We got it.
but it's always funny when like so I've had friends of mine be like, "Oh, hey, I saw the video essay you made," and I was like, "I never like sent it to you." Like, as far as I know, they had no idea that we had a channel. But it's like,
Mhm,
dang, so this is really just getting recommended to people. But that's great. Enough
mhm.
about that. That's just for foils. Go learn what a foil is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Also, very briefly, let us know if you want us to do any other video essays. We most certainly do not promise that we will do them, but
yeah, it's a
it's
lot of
interesting to
work.
get prompts. If we end
Yeah.
up if we end up having time over the summer or whenever, maybe we'll make one, and maybe your idea will become something that we analyze. Could be fun. Could be fun. I don't know.
Could be fun. It's a little bit crunch time for us right now with AP testing and all that. We're a bunch of high schoolers, but um, we'll do our best to put out some pristine content for you guys. And I just want to point out that we're starting to run a little bit short on time, man. I feel like I could run this episode for hours and hours, but I think we're gonna have
No.
to start wrapping it up here pretty soon. So maybe we give a final go around on our. Let's say goodbye to Clone Wars, guys. Let's.
Oh no, that's yeah. So let's do that. Like, what's your final message to the people who liked Clone Wars? Maybe even to yourself. Like, how do you feel after this is all done? You know,
Dang,
what
why
are
don't
your
you start us off,
emotions?
Charlie?
Oh, I was gonna do ladies first, but sure, I'll go ahead.
You
Uh,
brought it up, man.
yeah, no, I got to do an example now. I got to do the teacher's example. Wow. I mean, Clone Wars has been a series that's been around for a whole lot of my life, right? And same with Star Wars. Like Star Wars has been so near and dear to my heart for so very long, but really not until recently, until the announcement of the new Clone Wars season, did I get back in and relive all that childhood nostalgia. Like to prepare for the season, I binge watched all of the episodes from the Clone Wars. And in doing so, I think I rediscovered a like a really deep love for this series and its characters and also the lessons it's taught me. Like you can really take a lot of the lessons that the characters in the show learn, like Obi-Wan or Anakin or Ahsoka, and the morals that they would have at the beginning of each episode and take that to heart and be like, "Oh, this is teaching me a little something." Stories have this ability to leave an impact on you and to make you a better person. And watching through this entire Clone Wars show has shown me that the creators of it really do care and they really do have a deep undying passion for the series that they make. So in seeing these final 4 episodes and seeing the final season in all, I'll say this. Every episode gave me a different thing and made me remember Clone Wars in a different way. And I think the final 4 episodes of this arc are perhaps my favorite moments of Star Wars ever. And I mean that, and I sincerely mean that more than the prequels, more than the originals, more than the sequels, more than anything, because they connected to me and they made me feel like I was in Star Wars and they made me relive all of that joy and wonder and excitement. And I couldn't have asked for anything better. So, although it is very, very sad to say goodbye, I had a hell of a time watching.
That was beautiful, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll go to the ladies. Haleigh, what did you think?
Man, to agree with a lot of the things you said, Charlie. I mean, Star Wars, whether it's the originals or the sequels or the prequels, it encompasses such like a large message to all of us, like individually about like hope and so many things. So I think Clone Wars really gave me hope, not only for the story of Star Wars, but like for storytelling as a whole, the fresh new perspectives we can all like bring to such a very complex and like layered universe that you think, gosh, this is only something that can happen once. You've got Star Wars, it's over with, right? Everything else is just extra. But no, you get to see all these new people start to collaborate and create new things and bring new ideas and stories and give us new perspectives, I think, in storytelling and, media. So I think this really connected to me on that level, and I'm I don't know, it just makes me really excited for the future of what can happen. Maybe everything else that will come out will suck, but at least we'll have this, you know? This is just evidence of, something that's all I think affected us equally, you know? So yeah, really powerful.
Amazing.
Very well said.
Absolutely beautiful. Kasey, what did you think?
Um, I would agree with Haleigh just to piggyback off of how like all encompassing Star Wars is. For all of us, in this group, like with Clone Wars and with the prequels and the originals and the sequel series, like this has been going on for like all of our lives, and just for them to be able to do something like Clone Wars to the quality and the depth that they were able to do it is amazing. This should Clone Wars should honestly just be like the blueprint for any type of spin-off series. Like if you're not going to do it to Clone Wars standards, then like maybe pump the brakes a little bit, because this is just completely uh like on another plane. Like when it first came out, I don't think a lot of shows were doing what Clone Wars was doing. Like it didn't have a like it had a huge cultural impact, and I have to give it props for that. And just to wrap it up the way that it did, like completely, putting it in a little package with a bow and being like aloof and super direct when it needs to be, and putting in like little nuances and things that like the story that say that the story is over, question mark, but it's always going to like live on through whatever they decide to do next. And as Hallie said, if it's bad, at least we have this, things that are untouchable.
Of course, of course. And James, to wrap it all up.
Oh man. When I was younger, I don't even I'm embarrassed of how into Star Wars I was, dude. I wouldn't want to hang out with me when I was little, because I swear my brothers and I just every single piece of Star Wars media that came out, we like internalized it as part of our DNA, man. We could tell you what planet some random background character in the cantina was from. And I loved it like sincerely so much, and it was such a big part of my uh early childhood, and I have so many good memories of it, especially of Clone Wars. I'd hang out with my friends and we would just lightsaber fights and talk and watch Clone Wars and talk about our favorite characters and reenact scenes. Um and I kind of fell out of that for a while. I kind of left the Star Wars phase behind for a good long time. Even like when the sequels were coming out, I was like into Star Wars, but I wasn't like into it, you know? I was watching the movies because I liked, I was like, oh yeah, I like Star Wars. I'll watch the movies. But um when this final season of Clone Wars came out, I just over the past few months watching it, it kind of brought me back into that phase of how I used to be, and just how much media can really make you enjoy yourself. Like it unlocked it it reintroduced me to that kind of feeling, like I'm younger again, and I am just enjoying things shamedly. I don't know, just
Yeah.
just that pure joy again that I haven't really felt in a while towards something. And I'm really thankful for that Clone Wars kind of brought me back a little bit of my childlike wonder, as we love to say so much on this show. Um, and I'm really grateful to the showrunners for putting on such an amazing finale, and I hope they'll continue to make more Star Wars content in the future, because these guys know how to do it. Dave Filoni, like, he's the man. But
Absolute man.
yeah, I guess I'm excited to see the future of Star Wars going forward after this. I'm excited for it now, you know?
Oh
So
yeah.
so yeah.
It's a bright future ahead for everyone, and just to briefly elaborate on the point that you made there, James. To the showrunners, to all the people that touched this show, to all the people who thought about any ideas that made it in, and even to the fans and people that just love Star Wars as a franchise, no matter what position you take on the movies or shows or whatever. Thank you. Thank you for all the ways that you've shaped us as people, for all the ways that you've told us how to live and given us inspiration and hope and a sense of childhood wonder that is so rare to come by as we get older. And thank you most of all for just telling stories and for keeping that part of our lives something that we can look back on with fond memories and reminisce and share with our children and our children's children. And forever and always, we will have this series. And the mark that everyone left on it is indelible. So thank you. But a little bit of nostalgic ending to a Socratic Cinema episode.
Yeah.
We're very interested to hear all of your thoughts on Star Wars and your goodbye to Clone Wars, obviously. So if you've made it this far, number one, thank you. And number two, please leave a comment down below on what your final message to Star Wars is, and specifically Clone Wars. What did it make you feel? How were you changed by it? Do you think that the final 4 episodes really brought together an entire childhood's worth of storytelling? If you want to see more of us, you can find us at Socratic_Cinema for Instagram. We have a Twitter handle. What's our Twitter handle again? I forgot what it was.
Just Socratic Cinema.
Wait, or isn't it? I thought it
let
was
me check, let me
Cinema
check.
Socratic, I think.
So,
Cinema-
yep, it's backwards. Cinema Socratic.
Cinema Socratic. We post way more on Instagram though, and you'll get updates for when all of our videos come out, so you don't need to do the weird notification thingy on YouTube. We know that's hard. Please subscribe if you liked our content. We post every other week.
Let's sign us off. So this has been another episode of Socratic Cinema. Thank you for listening, and adios.
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 Adios.